This is the Milady, a light greatsword from the DLC. At first, I didn't think much of it. Then I started testing, and that's when everything changed. Because with the right setup, this sword turns into a boss melting machine. We are talking over 10,000 damage per hit, 311% increase, and a crazy aura. So let's break down everything you need to turn this into your new favorite weapon. Let's dive in. I started where any sensible build begins, by taking a proper look at the weapon itself. The Milady is a light greatsword that you can get very early in the DLC. It can be found inside a chest at the top of a watchtower right here. That alone makes it a fantastic pick for both early DLC progression and late game optimization. The sword uses standard smithing stones to upgrade, which means it has a big advantage. Its Ash of War can be changed, you can replace it, and even better, you can change its affinity to match your build. So the first big question is, what is the best infusion for the weapon? Your infusion choice changes everything. Your stats, your buffs, your talismans, your entire playstyle. It all hinges on this one decision. So I tested all of them. I pumped every stat to 60, I kept on the default Ash of War, and ran tests on every single infusion possible. Then I compared their damage, and here are the results. Occult, Magic, Lightning, Sacred, Heavy, Fire, Flame Earth, Keen, and Standard all came in with low numbers. Definitely not worth using. In third place, Cold at 2220, second, Blood or Poison at 2278, and first is Quality at 2312. So Quality gives the highest base damage, but is it actually the best in combat? I mean, every guide out there recommends Quality, so it must be the right choice, right? Nope. To find out the best of the three, we need to test how fast each one can actually nuke a boss, because raw numbers are great, but they don't actually win fights. I put all three affinities through the same exact setup. Same enemy, same skill, same pace, and a stopwatch in hand. And here are the TTK results. Quality technically has the highest single hit damage, but it doesn't have any procs, so it falls behind fast. Cold splits its damage between physical and magic. That opens up synergy with magic-based buffs, but those buffs aren't as powerful. So Blood pulled ahead and shaved off seconds. It is the fastest of the three, and that is thanks to the bleed procs chunking through health like it's nothing. And best of all, you get to stay fully physical, meaning you can stack buffs that give high percentages. And if you're not a fan of bleed builds, I understand. Don't worry, at the end, I'll show you a cold alternative. But for now, we have to go for a Blood build if we want the best of the best. Now that we have our affinity locked in, it is time to see how the base moveset performs. Going from a normal attack to heavy gives you an 11% increase. Then going from a heavy to a charged heavy adds another 21 on top. And finally, switching from a charged heavy to the weapon skill gives you a 32% boost. The Milady is quick, clean, and easy to use. But the skill, it is mid. It hits for 2278, and that's it. No charge scaling, no combos, no variation. Compare that to something like the Mariah Executioner sword from the last video, which you can check out right after this one. This skill deals over 200% more than normal attacks. Yeah, that is definitely not it. We need something better. So being the psycho that I am, the next logical thing to do is to test every Ash of War that works on the Milady. And these are the best ones. Bloodblade, Piercing Fang, Royal Knight's Resolve, Repeating Thrust, Wingstance, and Double Slash. All of them performed really well to different degrees, but we need the best of the best. So we need to check the TTK again. Double Slash, it is powerful, but it is super slow due to its long animation. 21 seconds to finish the job. Bloodblade landed right in the middle with a solid 20-second kill time. And same story for Blood Tags, also 20 seconds. Wingstance was close behind, clocking in at 19 or 22 seconds, depending on which version of the combo you go for. Repeating Thrust, to my surprise, came out on top, killing the boss in just 15 seconds. Repeating Thrust technically wins, but the one I kept coming back to was actually Wingstance. Let me show you why Wingstance works so well. First, you get two styles depending on your follow-up. If you hold your skill and follow with a normal attack, you get fast multi-hits that deal 140% more than normal attacks. If you hold a skill and follow with a heavy attack, you get a safer burst damage that deals 296% more than normal attacks. That flexibility is huge. You have two strong choices depending on your situation. You can go in fast and aggressive or wait for an opening and go for a burst damage. It is essentially two skills in one. Plus, the aura is unmatched. Which one of the two to use? I recommend the burst one. It is safer to use, it has high damage, and you can dodge when you're holding the stance if you're in trouble. With wingstance and the blood affinity locked in, it is now time to look at the buffs. Let's start with what does not work so you don't waste your time or slots. Assuming you are going to use the thrust version of wingstance like I recommended, you are not hitting fast enough to reliably trigger multi-hit effects. That means Melisand's prosthesis, Watton Windsword Insignia, and the Thorny Crack tier, all of them underperform. Even though wingstance feels like a charged skill, Godfrey Icon has no effect. Same goes for the Axe Talisman, even though we're using R2 with the skill. And the two-handed talisman doesn't boost it either. The Ansbach and the Dancer set also do not work with the skill, so avoid these. Let's talk about the good stuff, the buffs that actually matter and make this weapon ridiculous. Shard of Alexander boosts this skill damage by 15% and work as intended with this weapon. Relana's cameo gives a massive 45% increase. To get it to proc, just hold the skill until you see the red effect. Then you are ready to go. Lord of Blood's Exaltation adds 20% every time you proc bleed, which happens very often with this weapon. The Spear Talisman also works with this weapon, adding 15% if you manage to hit during a counter window, which is more likely to happen than not. Flame Grant Me Strength gives a flat 20%, and since this build is fully physical, you get the full benefit. Golden Vow stacks another 15%, Bloodsucking tier adds another solid 20%, the Rakshasa set gives you 8% more damage just for wearing it as well. And if you prefer the White Mask, that adds another 10% boost when blood loss occurs. Howl of Shabriri does work. It works most of the time. It gives you a 25% damage boost, which is huge, but it also makes you take 30% more damage, and it requires 33 faith to even cast. That is why I don't recommend it in any of my builds. With all the working buffs stacked together and no Shabriri involved, we hit 258% extra damage per hit. That is over 10,000 damage from a relatively safe distance. The weapon is stylish, fun, and lethal. After all the testing, time for the ideal Milady build. First, the weapon. Max the Milady to plus 25 and replace its default skill with wingstance. Set the infusion to blood to take advantage of all the bleed synergy we covered. Offhand, any finger seal to cast our buffs, any seal would do. And now into the armor. I personally went with Relana's full set, the helm, armor, gloves, and greaves. It just looks clean and stylish alongside the Milady. If you want more damage, use the Rakshasa set, which gives you a solid 8%. You want to push the damage even further, you can use the White Mask with the rest of a Rakshasa set for a min-maxed 14% increase. And if you're the kind of player who likes to tank through hits, no worries. Throw on the heaviest armor you can wear while keeping a medium load. Honestly, it's kind of funny styling on bosses with a full heavy drip while swinging something this fast. Talismans are where the real power comes in. Start with Shard of Alexander. This boosts your skill by 15%. Next, use Relana's cameo. It gives an insane 45% damage increase. For the third slot, use Lord of Blood's Exaltation. It increases your attack by 20% whenever bleed occurs, which in this build happens constantly. For the final slot, since this weapon already deals a ton of damage, we can use that last talisman slot for defense. I recommend running the Dragon Crest Great Shield. It gives you 20% physical damage negation, which is huge for staying alive during trades, and you can always swap it out depending on the boss you are facing. But if you're trying to squeeze every last bit of damage, go with the Spear Talisman instead. It boosts the counter thrust damage by 15%, and since Milady's wingstance counts as a thrust, it fits perfectly. You are likely proccing unlocking it without even realizing it. For your physic, use the Opaline Heart tier to boost all damage negation types by 15% for 3 minutes. It helps you survive more in case you get hit. Pair that with the Stone Barb Crack tier, which helps you break enemy stances faster. This weapon can break poise fast, and this one just leans into that. If you want a riskier approach, you can use the Bloodsucking tier to increase that damage by 20%. For the stats, here's a rough guideline depending on your level. For Vigor, go between 50 to 60 for great survivability. For Mind, go for as low as possible. It is enough to cast this skill multiple times per fight. Just have 2 flasks on standby for a refill. For Endurance, go for 15 to keep a medium equip load and good stamina. If you use a heavier armor, you have to level more your Endurance. For Strength, just meet the minimum requirements of 12. You don't need more than that. For Dexterity, go between 30 to 60 depending on your level and the points you have. For Faith, go for 25 to use Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength. They will give you better damage rather than spending the points on other stats. And finally, for Arcane, go between 30 to 60 as well, depending on your level, to scale with bleed damage and maximize the procs. And if you're still not into bleed builds, that is totally fine. One of the best things about the Milady is how easy it is to switch infusions. Here is a full cold Milady build that trades proc for magic utility. Also, Night Rain is out. How do you guys feel about it? Are you playing solo? Are you playing with friends? Are you enjoying it? Are you not? Personally, the rush of going for runs is really fun. So let me know in the comments if you want to see some Night Rain videos and what sort of videos to go for, because the content is really different from Elden Ring. Meanwhile, if you want to check out my last video on the Mariah Executioner sword, it is one of the most broken weapons in Elden Ring. Check this video right here.
Bye.